Hey, so you probably clicked on this video because you have an interview coming up. I would love to be able to help you. I'm a technical recruiter. I've got about 10 years of experience. I've witnessed thousands of interviews. I've personally placed hundreds of people throughout my career. Here's what you need to know. Let's simplify things a little bit. All right. They're going to be evaluating you on some key items, right? Your appearance, your communication skills, your likability, culture fit with the team, and they're trying to figure out, are you capable of doing this job with minimal training? So how are we going to get around those things? So the first thing, right? First thing we got to do is the easy stuff, right? Be on time. Be 5 minutes early, actually. You want to be there when they get there, okay? And then think about your appearance. Be groomed, right? Just look like you care, okay? If I had an interview, my personal favorite is a white button-down shirt, a dark blue or dark gray jacket. Of course, I would get a haircut, right? I'd trim my beard up, personal grooming, of course. And then I would make sure that I had 2 fingers above my head in camera view. That's all. You don't want to be down here. You don't want to be up here. You want to be 2 fingers from the top of the screen. And I think this is the best you can possibly look, regardless of your sex or your gender. But hey, you do you, right? You do you. Whenever you're in a video interview, the lighting and your surroundings and the background are going to mean a lot. You can't have a source of light above you that puts a shadow on you. You can't have a source of light behind you because then you look like a shadow. The source of light has to be right in front of you. Here's another thing that's very hard to do. It actually takes practice. Don't look at yourself or the person who's talking or the computer screen, okay? You need to be looking right into the web camera because that's how people feel like you're engaged. You're giving them eye contact, all right? You appear much more confident whenever you're giving someone eye contact. Whenever the interview starts, you want to be smiling, right? They're going to judge you within the first 5 seconds. They're going to form an opinion about you like everyone else does, right? So you want to be warm and friendly, positive attitude, high energy, and excited to be there, right? You're trying to impress someone, right? You got to put your best foot forward here. So when the interview starts, game time, okay? Smile, you're on, okay? You're performing now, all right? So the next thing, your communication. Can you communicate, all right? The way you can help that situation is you have to be prepared. Okay, you have to be prepared for the interview. You have to know who is going to be attending the interview, to research their LinkedIn profiles, have some questions prepared, and then you also have to have your elevator pitch prepared. A good elevator pitch lasts about 30 seconds, okay? And you want it to be clean, you want it to be clear, crisp, come off like you've said it 1,000 times, and you want to be prepared to say it with every single person you met with. Because the first question in most interviews is something to do with, can you tell us about yourself? Tell us about your background. What can you tell us about yourself? It's some generic form of the same question. So you need to be prepared to say it over and over again with every person that you meet with, and gladly say it. It's almost like you're excited. Oh, now it's time to give them an elevator pitch. I've got a good one. Let me give it to you, right? That's how it should feel. You also want to be able to answer just some very basic questions, right? Here's one, okay? Why now? Why is now a good time? Okay, why are you looking? What's the reason that you're on the job market? Okay, it can't just be all about money. It's got to be, and also, here's something important. You cannot be running away from something. You need to be running towards something. There is a goal that you're running towards, okay? If your reason for looking has something to do with how bad your current company is or something negative, that's a bad move right there, okay? You need to make it about, you want to make an impact and you feel like making this move would help you make that kind of impact faster. You'll have more success in making your impact you want to make faster at a new organization versus the organization that you're in. But never, ever in a million years, ever badmouth your current company or any prior companies or any prior bosses for that matter. You always want to share why you're looking in the most positive light. It's risky if you do try to vent a little bit or complain or get real or just be transparent about that type stuff. Unless you've got somebody who can sincerely empathize with what you're going through, right? You're much better off just take the safe road, make it about something you're attracted to versus running away from, okay? And then the next part of that question is, why this company, right? Why this company? There's a million options out there. Why do you want to work here? Right? What's different about us? What do you like about us? You can't just be, well, I saw the posting and I thought it was, could be a pretty good fit. I mean, they got a lot of people to choose from. There's probably over 200, maybe even 1,000 applicants to this particular job, and you're here right now. You're interviewing for it. Okay, you're one of the ones that made it through to the interview process. They're not going to interview that many people, right? I mean, a lot of people, maybe they interview 20 people, but think about that number versus how many people who apply. You made it through to the interview. Okay, you better take advantage, right? You better know why you're interested in this company. What are they all about? Did you research their website? Right? Do you know what they're trying to accomplish? Do you know what they're advertising? I mean, all this stuff you should research beforehand. Okay. And then the next thing, why should they hire you? Okay. Why you? Out of all the people interviewing, why should they go ahead and just stop interviewing and hire you? Okay. You have to be very confident in your answer here, right? And it's a bit of a mind game because your job in this interview is to sell certainty in yourself, right? You are absolutely certain that you can do this job and you can make a positive impact and you can solve their problem, right? If you're not certain about it, there's no way you're going to be able to sell that to the people who are interviewing you. If you have doubts, the doubts are going to come across in the interview, and they're probably going to choose somebody else who is delivering that level of certainty that they're after, right? Something else, all right? You need to come prepared with stories, right? What are some pretty generic stories that you need to be prepared to answer, all right? Tell me about a time or a project that failed. How did you handle it, right? Tell me about a time when you had to work with a very difficult person. Stuff like that, okay? You need to have a storybook of things that you've gone through and accomplished just ready, just written down, memorized, kind of like your elevator pitch, okay? It needs to be something that you only need like 3 or 4 of them, and then every question that they throw at you, you can, whether it's relevant to that question or not, that's the story you're going to try to tell, and you have to somehow tie it into that, okay? You've got a toolbox full of tools. You don't have any other tools, okay? You got to pull from the toolbox that you brought to the interview. So you can say, well, you know what? I'm not sure, if this is directly relevant to your question, but I can tell you about a story when, and just give your story that you think is most relevant, okay? But every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a 3-part thing, right? You have to include all parts, okay? You have to paint the picture. You have to tell about the characters involved, where you were, what was going on, right? And then you have to talk about the problem and what you did to try to solve it, right? And then what were the results from that, okay? What did you learn from that? What we learned, after what we tried is this, and I'll never do that again, or I learned that worked and I'll often do that, right? So immediately you need to be able to tell some stories. People love stories. They love to hear stories. They love to watch movies, right? They love to listen to podcasts and other people tell their stories. So you got to be prepared to tell some stories about some stuff that happened to you in your life, right? It's got to be compelling. Go ahead and think about that. Write them down. Rehearse them, right? Record yourself telling them. Make them better, right? It's only going to help you. Okay, of course, right? Know your strengths and your weaknesses, right? I personally like this website called 16 Personalities. It'll tell you kind of more about what your personality is, but there's a bunch of them out there. Right? Just be aware of what kind of personality you have and what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And oftentimes, here's the problem: people don't know what their weaknesses are. If they did, they would fix them. Oftentimes, they're not weaknesses, they are blind spots that you'll never know unless somebody tells you. So, it's also a good idea to record yourself answering questions on your computer or on your phone or whatever. Just record a video of yourself and practice, right? You are the best judge of yourself sometimes, right? You can look at yourself. Oftentimes you hate how you sound and how you look and everything, right? So if you can word it in a way, sound in a way where you actually like it yourself, there's a good chance that other people are going to like it too. So you be the judge here and practice, right? Another thing you want to be prepared to talk about is your accomplishments, right? A couple of things that you feel like are your biggest accomplishments, things that you're most proud of, right? That's what they want, right? How are you, or how have you been the hero of a story? Have you ever been the hero of a story? When? What was the scenario? Tell us about it, right? Be prepared, okay? You also want to prepare some good questions to ask, okay? You can't say, so what does this job pay again? So what do you guys do again? Don't ask questions like that. Ask unique questions. Ask thought-provoking questions, right? The best questions, hands down, typically come from if you go into the investor section of a company website and look at their 10K filing, right? Their most recent one, scroll down to where it talks about risk factors, okay? And these are the words of the executives, and they're talking about the risk that this company faces. What are the things that might prevent them from being profitable, right? That's gold right there, okay? If you know those things, then you can cherry pick some of those items that are compelling to you and build your questions around those. When the interviewer asks, hey, do you have any questions for us? And if you say, well, I do have one question, okay? I was looking at the company's recent 10K filing, and I noticed one of the risk factors were heavy competition from an emerging industry in the insurtech space that was going to automate part of this process that you guys do. How is my role going to mitigate that risk? I mean, most of the time, the people you're interviewing with, they haven't read the 10K filing. They have no idea anything about the 10K filing, right? So you're going to seem much more informed asking a question like that than asking some super generic thing that everybody else asks, okay? You want to be unique, right? How are you going to stand out? That's one way, okay? The person is going to be evaluating you not only on your communication, but also just a general likability, right? And there's some things that you can do to make sure that not that you're likable, just that you're not unlikable, right? That people gravitate towards different kinds of people, right? It's the law of attraction, right? Not everybody's going to love you. Some people are going to hate you, and there's nothing you can do about that. They don't like the sound of your voice. They don't like your tone. They don't like your personality. They don't like the way you look. What are you going to do about that? Most of the time, you know the people you're going to interview with before the interview. Just go on their LinkedIn. Look them up, okay? It's another human being, all right? They're experiencing the human condition just like you are, okay? What's their background? Where are they from? Where they go to school? Where they worked at before now? How long have they been at the company, right? What must they have gone through up until this moment, okay? Is there any connection to this person? Do you have any common ground? People would rather talk about themselves than anything else, right? Than anything else. People would rather just talk about themselves. That's what they know best, themselves. Find something about that person's background that you can connect the dots on and just try to connect with that person from a human being standpoint, right? Something else you can do for likability is show empathy for the interviewer early on in the interview, right? There's a good chance they haven't had a chance to prepare because they're moving from meeting to meeting. Someone else threw this interview invite on their calendar in between some other meetings. Now they're having to switch into interview mode, and they might have to it might take them a second to get in that frame of thought there. So, if you kind of get a sense that they might be struggling a little bit to come up with some good questions for you, you can just go ahead and step up and offer to, just give them all the information that they need to know, right? If I may, I'm not sure if you had a chance to prepare, but can I go ahead and tell you a little bit more about my background and tell you why I was interested in this role and why I thought I was a good fit? Sure. Yeah, please. By all means. Thank you. But before you get into that, can we just go ahead and offer you the job because you're awesome already? Okay, one thing that you can do is don't interrupt them when they're talking. Okay, you wouldn't believe how often people do that and they don't realize it. Okay, that's why you need to take notes during the interview. While the interviewer is talking, take handwritten notes. Don't be sitting there typing because they can hear the click clack of the keyboard, and that can be offensive to people. So write handwritten notes, just one word, keyword here, there, and you just want to remember what points you needed to make to answer this person's question, because sometimes maybe it's a 3-part question. All right, by the time they get done delivering the third part, forgot what the first part was. So write notes during the interview and never interrupt the person, okay? Here's another little Jedi mind trick, okay? You have to reaffirm as often as you can that you think you're a good fit for this job, right? Back to selling certainty that you're the candidate, okay? There's often times in an interview where you can end your answer by saying, you're off, you're talking for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, and then you can wrap it up and say, you know what? And that's why I thought I was a good fit for this job. Do that as often as you can. Here's another thing, little Jedi mind trick, okay? When you're in the interview, say we a lot. Say we, okay? Use the term we, like you're already on the team. You're already this person's colleague, right? You're already in the trenches with them trying to solve this problem. Hey, you know what? What we could do in that scenario, and I've done this before, mind you, what we could do in that scenario is do that as often as possible. Here's another thing. Don't talk yourself out of a job, okay? You cannot be so long-winded that they get bored to tears, or maybe you're so long-winded that they aren't even able to ask all the questions that they want to ask of you, and the interview runs out of time. How bad is that? Okay. You should only talk for a minute, at most 2 minutes, without checking yourself, looking at the clock, saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm rambling here. Did I answer your question? Do you want me to keep going? You got to give them an option to change the subject, ask a different question. Maybe they want to hear more. No, continue, right? Give them that option. Do not talk forever without checking in on the audience, okay? Something easy right there, okay? Here's another thing, all right? People like people who like them back, right? That's just a natural human tendency, right? If someone likes me, well, I kind of like them too, right? Why not, right? They really like me. Okay, I'll like them back, right? It's natural. And they also love the sound of their own name, right? They've been hearing it since the moment they were born, right? They've been hearing this name forever. They love to hear the sound of their own name. Everybody does. It's their favorite word. So try to find a way to show them that you like them. Give them compliments, right? Not too many, couple during the interview, and say their name a couple of times. Whenever they ask a question, before you start asking a question, just toss it in there sometimes, right? And give them a compliment, right? Sometimes the compliment can be as simple as, Michelle, that was a good question. Michelle, I like the way you worded that question. Michelle, I can already tell that we're going to work well together because we're really seeing eye to eye here. It can't hurt, right? Here's another thing. The interview has to be conversational, right? It can't feel like a one-way street, okay? You've got to ask questions during the interview. Well, you might have a question about their question, and why was that important to you? Why, it's funny you asked that. It makes me kind of feel like maybe you have an issue with so and so. Is that what you're dealing with? You've got to approach the interview kind of like you're a consultant or a counselor, and you're just here to help, right? It's got to be a conversation. If you're just sitting back getting pelted by questions and you never have a question until the end, bad news bears, okay? It's just not a good sign. It doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good to you. Doesn't feel good to them, okay? So ask questions during the interview. And what you're trying to do when you're asking these questions is you've got to get to the root of what they're struggling with, okay? This position is open for a reason, okay? They need to hire someone to help them solve a problem that they can't fix on their own because they don't have enough time or they don't have the skill set to do it. So, what is it? You've got to figure it out. And then, once you figure out what it is they're struggling with, you just spend all your time talking about how you can fix it, okay? The whole time. That's it. How can you be a benefit to that situation? How can you relieve the pressure on that situation? How can you come in and be the hero? Because they need somebody to come in and be the hero. Okay, one thing about, just your general mindset walking into the interview, because it's easy to be nervous, right? It's so easy. I mean, you're something you prepared for. Oh, here it is. It started. Your heart's beating, and you're trying to not say anything bad. A couple of ways to just alleviate all that pressure, right? You kind of have to pretend that you already have two offers, right? That's the mindset, right? I've already got two offers. They're both pretty good. I guess I'll still attend this interview and just see what's going on, right? It's got to be a two-way interview, right? They're not interviewing you. Actually, take Chuck Norris's approach here. You're interviewing them, okay? That's not, from a dominant standpoint, but you're really trying to evaluate them too. The interview is a two-way street, okay? Is this really a good fit for you? Do you like these people? Can you see yourself at this company for 5 years? If you're nervous, if if they get the sense that you feel like maybe you can't do this job or you're super nervous around them, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out, okay? People are going to sense that red flag and they're going to run away, okay? So you got to be happy, you got to be high energy, you got to be no stress, you got to ask questions, you got to be inquisitive, you got to do it all, right? You got to do everything. So but it starts with your mindset. Okay, so let's talk about something else. Are you capable of the job? Okay, legitimate question, right? There's a lot that goes into that, okay? A lot of companies are asking for 10 to 100 items on their wish list. They want you to be an expert in everything, okay? Nobody's an expert in everything, but, right, you've got to be certain that you can do this job, okay? And if they ask you any technical questions, if you don't know the answer, you got to just be honest about these technical questions, right? You either know it or you don't. People can tell if you're guessing, so don't even try to guess. Hey, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but here's where I would look immediately. Here's where I would go. Here's what I would do. Okay. And I can relate that to something else that I did because I don't have that particular tool, but I do have this other tool that's very similar. and here's how it works, and here's a feature within that tool that I feel like could be relevant. So, most times these tools are very similar in nature and how they work. And there's no doubt in my mind that I could learn your particular tool within a matter of a week if I just tried to study it, right? That's very certain, right? Don't seem uncertain that you could at least figure out the answer. You want to be very specific about where you would look for the answer, right? You can't just say, I'd have to Google that, okay? You're not getting the job, okay? Some of these you'll be able to reframe a little bit, right? So, what if one of their job requirements is that you have a certain industry experience, right? You may need to be from the insurance industry or from the retail. You may need to be from e-commerce, right? It's easy to let a question like that, hey, tell me about your so and so experience, right? Oh, well, I don't have any. Okay, no, you can't answer it like that. You got to reframe. Hey, I don't actually have any e-commerce experience, but what I found throughout my career is coming into a different industry from another industry has actually always been an advantage for me because I have a fresh mindset. I can look at it from a fresh pair of eyes. Oftentimes, I see solutions that not everyone else sees. And so I actually see not having your industry experience to be a benefit to me as a candidate versus someone who has been in your industry for a really long time and maybe set in their ways and just have some tunnel vision on what are the options available to solve your particular problems. Okay, whenever you're talking about your skill sets, okay, what are your strengths or whatever it may be? Do you have this? Do you have that? Okay, I want you to focus on only the positive things. What do you have? Never focus on what you don't have. Only try to reframe those items to being a positive, right? Find the diamond in the rough, positive reason why that could be a benefit instead of something that you're lacking. All right, something that's going to be helpful for you, not in your first interview, but if you are in the advanced stages of an interview, one thing that's going to set you apart from your competition, if you come in with a 30, 60, and 90-day plan, okay? How are you going to be successful in this job your first 90 days? It doesn't have to be a book. It literally can just be some handwritten notes, some basic stuff. You just say, hey, look, I came up with a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Do you mind if I walk through it with you? Uh, sure, please. Just having it is better than not having it. Okay, so there you have it, folks. This is my best advice. This is your interview guide. I hope it was helpful. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. If you want to make a comment, hit the like button. Of course, subscribe. All the things that YouTube has.